we're going to be talking today about what I think is a true life miracle. My mom, at the age of 89, which was 2.5 years ago, she's 91 now, but at the age of 89, she had a double stroke in the frontal lobe of her head, and at the same time, 2 pelvic fractures, and that didn't feel so good.
That was not good. That was very painful, which I think probably prompted my stroke, but then again, that's just me.
Yeah. But when she had the stroke, the emergency room up here, Mom lives several states away from me, and the emergency doctor called and he kind of held up the phone, and Mom really couldn't talk at all. And she stayed in the hospital about a week and made a little bit of progress, and then she came back to a rehab center here where my dad is as well. And you had physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. And every week, or maybe even more often, they would call me and tell me what was going on. They had made these little goals, which she was slowly meeting. And then they had made, of course, the larger goal for her to go back to her cottage and live independently. So how was that time with the physical therapy?
It was very slow. It just dragged. I was ready to go home, but obviously I wasn't.
Yeah. At 5 months along, I remember a meeting with all of these therapists, and they were pretty sure, and I was kind of teetering on the edge of being sure, that Mom would not be able to live independently anymore. You know, she in all aspects, that seemed like an impossibility. And that's when Listen, Love, Pray was offering a Zoom course. It was on a book by Dr. Caroline Leaf called Switch on Your Brain. And the whole premise of this Christ-centered book is that our brains are neuroplastic, which means they can reroute, they can reform. And Caroline Leaf's book is that is a way to capture negative thoughts, get rid of them, and then replace them with scripture-based positive thinking, which grows actual structures in your brain. So I sent you a book, not really knowing if she would be able to read it at this point. And then every class that we had, I think it was a 6-week class, the nurses would come in and set her up on Zoom at the age of 89 with a double stroke, and she would take the class. And I think it was 6 weeks long, and in 6 weeks, we had our last session maybe with the physical therapist, occupational therapist, and speech therapist. And at that point, they said, "We don't know what happened, but your mom has met every single goal." So of course, Mom and I knew what God had done in her life, and I did tell them that there was this book called Switch on Your Brain. I don't think they've used it on any other patient, or offered it to any other patient. But then Mom got to go home and tell us how that felt.
Oh, it was a relief. It was just wonderful to get home, to your own surroundings, rather than a hospital-like setting. Yeah, I was ready.
Yeah, and we were, still, will this work? And it did. And not only did it work for Mom to go back to be independent, but she was all in. Everything that she could immerse herself in, scripture-based, or classes, or the Tuesday healing services, mind you, all on Zoom. She did it. She is inspiration to people that come on and see her. So Mom, tell us anything else you want to about that whole time, from your stroke to your healing, and even now at your life at age 91?
Well, I think that LLP really opened my eyes to the fact that Jesus is there. He wants you to ask him to come in. And when I realized that, it was such an inspiration to just keep talking to him. And and he's just a constant companion. And that is so endearing and so helpful to me in the different things that I do during the day. It's been really a wonderful opening to me to know that and to be able to call on him at any time, and he's there to listen. So I think that's what I've really sort of grown into that. I mean, he's been here all the time, but to keep asking him, and when you ask, he listens and he responds.
Yeah.
So,
and do you have a favorite scripture?
I do. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And that's Psalm 118, verse 24. Yeah.
So thank you again for allowing us to videotape you and to share it with the entire world. That great good news, as Francis McNutt used to say, the great good news that Jesus heals and delivers today. And on a personal note, I want to speak to everyone who's watching this video. Those of you who perhaps have had a stroke or are in a situation where you think, oh, it's just my age, I'm too old, it's been too long, the physical therapy or whatever therapy isn't working. I want to encourage you to turn to God, to ask him, perhaps get on one of Listen, Love, Praise Tuesday night healing services, and keep seeking him. Thank you, Mom, again. And happy 70th wedding anniversary.
Thank you.